Did you know that beholders are extremely, extremely paranoid? Not only that, when they fall asleep, they're still semi-conscious, and if they start to dream, that they can use their reality warping powers to actually birth another beholder. Well, today I'm looking at the latest D&D supplement, which is Volo's Guide to Monsters. This came out a couple months ago, and it is a detailed book that offers a lot of great information about a variety of monsters. Now, before I get any farther, I want to tell you how I thought this review was going to go based on what I had read about the book. I thought it was going to be like, oh, there's a lot of neat info in here, you know. I thought it was basically going to be Monster Manual number 2. You know, they just didn't want to call it Monster Manual number 2. Like, you know, you might be interested in it, and you know, if you want to add some more flavor to your D&D games, you should pick it up. I thought that's what this review was going to be. No. I will say that just about every D&D player should take a look at this book. It is so interesting. By far, this is probably my favorite book that Wizards of the Coast has put out for the 5th edition D&D line. And in fact, if you're a GM, you have to have this book. I think it should be required. You know, for you to GM, you should at least be able to look at this book. It is so cool. The first chapter alone, it goes into all sorts of different, the most popular creatures for D&D. You got beholders, you got mind flayers, you've got gnolls, and all sorts of other goblinoids. A lot of different creatures. And it goes through, it talks about what their culture is like, how they behave, what their personality is like, what kind of minions do they associate with, and why. Why do those people stay around, or why does a beholder even keep humans or other species to do its bidding for them? What does its lair look like? What kind, like realistically, because a beholder, for instance, I'm using beholder just because that's just stay with me. You know, a beholder flies. So why wouldn't it have, you know, it would have a layer that's mostly inaccessible unless you had a flying sort of ability. Those are the kinds of information that you have in here. And it really helps spice up a D&D campaign, because you don't have to just make, oh, here's just another generic dungeon. No, you can customize it. No, you can look at a particular creature and there's samples of how their layer will be laid out and show you where different aspects of where do they keep their treasure, where do the minions usually stay in respect to everything else. A lot of cool stuff, and a lot of things that just like you're not going to get in the monster manual, just that little short paragraph of information that you're not going to get in there. There's a lot of deep things in here. For instance, after reading this, I really want to have a D&D campaign with beholders and mind flayers, because they're just so cool and interesting. And yeah, you could get one of the pre-mades that have a lot of that stuff in there. But if you're wanting to make your own kind of campaign, Volo's Guide to Monsters is a really good benefit. And by the way, we're only talking about the first chapter here. This is all within the first chapter. The second chapter, they even talk about how you could take some of these monsters, such as gnolls or goblinoids, and make them as player characters. What are their racial stats? What kind of things do they do? If you're wanting a little bit of extra flair to your D&D campaign and want to have a goblin character in your game, could be a little difficult, but you might want it. And then lastly, at the end, you've got what I thought the whole book was going to be about, which is extra monsters and their stats. And you know, a lot of it is the various creatures it talks about earlier, but it goes into different subspecies, and also some of the creatures that are associated with those monsters, and it gives you the detailed stats, everything you need to inject them into the game. So I gotta say, this book is great. Like I said, if you're a GM, you need to read this book. If you're a player, you would probably be really interested in seeing what's in this book. So, like I said, this has got to be my favorite D&D 5th edition product. I highly recommend you go out and take a look. And that is Volo's Guide to Monsters. Thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you check out other videos right here on the left and right, and subscribe to the channel. Leave comments down below if you really enjoyed this video. See what other kinds of things you'd like to see me review. And then check out some of my other videos. And we'll see you next time.